What is going on?
Like a picture in picture?
Anyone else seeing this? What is going on?
No, what?
You're flashing a little bit.
The screens were just flipping like crazy.
It's streaming out.
Hi, everybody. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. We're talking about the markets, economic fallout. The President, Donald J. Trump of the United States, asked Vladimir Zelensky to leave the White House.
Get out.
Get out. You're fired. It was like theatrics.
It was The Apprentice.
So let's get the clip up and we'll comment. Can we do a picture-in-picture, guys? Vladimir Zelensky did not even wear a suit. He looked like a bum, and the Ukrainian president did not sign a minerals deal with the United States either. Instead, the wartime leader was unceremoniously kicked out of the White House after tangling with President Trump and Vice President Vance. Although J.D. Vance didn't seem to add that much. It seemed like he was just, kind of...
That's a running theme.
Trying to be relevant. What's the running theme?
That J.D. Vance is not adding much?
No, he's a brilliant guy. By the way, he gave an excellent speech. I have a good friend who's a Democrat. He said he gave an excellent speech on AI, the dangers. He did a lot of good things. But
he's not popping up in the news.
When you're vice president, you kind of are defanged. They said that Bill Clinton picked Al Gore to kind of defang him. Al Gore. So
the inventor of the internet.
Do we have the clip?
Change.
Can we play the clip? I thought we can do picture-in-picture stuff. Tom? Hello?
I can't do it on my end.
Altoona, go ahead. I'm looking for us live on YouTube. I don't see it live on X.
Yeah, let's see if I can do this.
I don't see it live.
Of your country.
Yes, but if you are not...
No, what are you doing? You're just playing it. No, I wanted it to be a picture-in-picture where I could.
You send me the video. I can see if I can play it.
Okay. I don't even see. I'm on Twitter. I don't see our recording.
Yeah, I'm on too. I don't see it.
I don't know. It's because this restream thing doesn't work. So we're not live. Okay.
Well, let's...
So the markets are up. The S&P closed 1.58% better. Bitcoin was crashing. Bitcoin's up today, 0.85%. But it's up significantly from a low of 78,298. Watch Bitcoin. If you're worried about the stock market and you see Bitcoin free falling, Bitcoin seems to be almost a leading indicator. And I thought, whoa, after Zelensky and Trump, the markets would implode. In fact, they exploded to the positive, partially because I think the economy sees this as like Trump's theatrics that he's going to cut a deal. He's pushing hard against Zelensky to get him to close. The Art of the Deal. I think we should reread that book for a window into the view of the president.
We do a book club?
I think he's trying to push hard against Zelensky. But so in the debate between Zelensky and Trump was cool, calm, and collected. I liked him at first. He got a little bit, he could have been a little bigger, but he wasn't. I think once J.D. Vance started speaking up, he's like, hey, this is my show. And he was trying to let Zelensky's own words, I guess, convict him in the court of public opinion. The Dow's up 1.39%, NASDAQ up 1.63%, the Russell's up 1.09%. Gold is down 1.24%. So it appears that the market liked the Trump-Zelensky blow-up. Does that make sense to anyone? I mean, the only reason I believe it is I think the market fundamentally is going to see that Trump is going to get a deal happening. What do you think, Fisher?
Hold on, I'm trying to pull this video up.
You're kind of a left middle guy.
I texted to you.
Are you
That
left
is true.
center?
I am agnostic.
So what did you? So this is from President Trump. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion. And I've determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. That is pretty smart, you know. I don't want advantage, I want peace. He disrespected the United States in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Ooh.
Dude, this video you sent me, Jim, is an hour long.
Yeah, there's like a 10-minute, it's like a 11-minute clip.
Here, I got it.
You know, you got to show respect, though. Wouldn't you have worn a suit if you're going to the White House?
You say that, but when has Elon Musk worn a suit in the White House?
Yeah, but Elon Musk is not begging for money. Elon
Yeah.
Musk is not asking for $350 billion to fund a war that hasn't resolved. Now, I am part Ukrainian. I deeply understand Zelensky's point where there was already a ceasefire. Russia already invaded in 2014. They did a ceasefire, 2019? And Russia broke it again and invaded his own country. And we shall see. The notification pinged through the West Wing, and White House officials began gathering on the steps of Eisenhower office building for a better view of the departing world leader. Some would say he got kicked out, some wouldn't, but he's going home. Reporters shouted questions about what took place. What, if anything, had been accomplished as Zelensky and his stone-faced delegation loaded into their motorcade? He did not answer. But the White House did. The president asked Zelensky to leave. Nothing will be signed. And then Zelensky left. His Suburban rolled away from the White House almost exactly 45 minutes after a 1 o'clock press conference was slated. Now, Zelensky is scheduled to go on Fox right at 5. Is that?
Is he?
So let's see if that's still going to take place. He took nothing with him, not a minerals deal, let alone a security guarantee. The sought-after thank you came less after an hour later as Zelensky was en route to an interview with Bret Baier. So where's the Bret Baier interview? Do we have that? Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, President of the United States, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace, and we are working exactly for that. The one person notably absent from that list, the vice president, with whom he tangled earlier. I don't know. I think they're just trying to
Hey, hold on. I think I can play this.
Cause trouble.
Let me try this.
I will tell you this. Like, I don't understand why Trump is negotiating on behalf of Vladimir Putin.
Let's watch.
But let's see it. Can I give comments? as we're
It doesn't
listening?
work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see
Pause
the
this.
hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough
Pause there.
for me.
So that right there, good. He's not aligned with Russia. He's not aligned with Ukraine. I agree. I mean, he's aligned with the U.S. people. But absent from this peace deal is Putin. Like I guess.
Yeah, but
Oh, he spoke to
he
Putin
was
already.
talking to Putin without Zelensky.
Yeah.
Like,
He's had conversations.
No, I think
Yeah.
he's trying to broker a deal. Maybe he's acting
but-
as like a mediator?
a mediator is usually a mediating two people in the room.
No, that isn't true, to be fair. See, this is sometimes where fake news blows up. People think that. That's not, if you go to a court mediation, the judge will meet with both of you at the end and at the beginning, but they take you in a room, the mediator. You ever go to a mediation, Jim?
No.
And they rough you up, just like what Trump's doing. And they're like, oh, well, your side, let's say you get in a car accident, and you claim there's $1 million in damages, and the other side says, no, we're going to give you $100,000. It's the judge's role or the mediator's role to get both sides to be unhappy to accept an agreed upon solution. So to be fair, some of that, because Trump spent a lot of time in court cases, right? So I kind of see him as like a hardened judge here. I don't think the media is getting that. I don't think he's acting as an apologist for Putin. I think he's trying to cut a deal knowing that if Putin was there, these two would, I mean, Zelensky's a pretty passionate guy, right? He's annoyed that his people, I mean, there's weird, conspiracy theories online about Zelensky, but let's assume he is a good man and wants to fight for his people. His country has been invaded. So he's heated. I'd be heated if my country was invaded and my ancestors. I don't understand why he doesn't wear a suit. I don't get this. I got it at the beginning of the war. He was a wartime president. But that's where what Trump is saying is this fleshed him out, if you will. That the thing that was learned was that Zelensky will never cut a deal if he thinks the U.S. is always going to have his back, which makes sense. So then there will never be peace because he thinks, now I don't know what they're asking for. Do we know? What does Putin want? Do we know that? We know Trump wants minerals, which is pretty smart. And that will actually protect Ukraine more by having some U.S. people there. If we're going to have some base, we're extracting minerals. And it's good to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So if they're closer to Russia, if we have some type of installation, do we know the exact deals of that? So let's continue the clip. So far, nothing wrong. Trump's acting presidential, a little tough. Go ahead.
For me to make a deal with that kind of hate, he's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I will respond to this. So look,
Pause
for 4
right there.
years in the United States of
So
America.
this pause. So this is where Vance kind of throws some coals on the fire. Now, was this planned?
Definitely not.
Or was he trying to get a word in?
Yes.
I think it was
Let's
trying
go.
to get a word in.
Watch him.
America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country.
Pause.
The path to peace and
That's
the
a
path
good point. That's a great point. Putin invaded Ukraine not under President Trump's watch, because maybe one madman fears another, And I definitely could see that. That's a good point. I sort of get and I like J.D. Vance. He's brilliant. He gave one of the best speeches of all. We got to do a show on not Putin, on Vance's AI speech. Have you heard about this speech?
Yeah, it was good.
It was amazing. One of the best. It's like a generational speech. So we need to do that. And it's gotten praise from both sides of the aisle. So go ahead, J.D. Vance.
Path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, parts of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was
killed.
not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly
but-
right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people are been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about.
So what's your take on that, Fisher? That makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does.
He made a good counter argument to J.D. Vance. What kind of diplomacy is that? So right now it seems to be okay, right? Hasn't blown up yet. Let's continue.
Talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing.
I think he makes a good point. It's like if you're trying to cut a deal, don't
advertise it in front of the media.
Yeah, like
Don't say, okay, what are you going to do? He asked Vance, what do you suggest we should do?
yeah, I guess that would be a fair point, but it starts to where it's starting to go south, right?
Yeah, here it goes.
This starts to go south. Okay, next.
Forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
And count once.
I've actually watched and seen the
Pause
stories,
once, pause
and
right
I
there.
know what happened.
This is where I think, you notice Trump's cool, calm, collected. The Russian bear is going to come out of Trump in a few minutes. And that's, I think, where was J.D. Vance entirely appropriate? No. But if you listen to Zelensky, if you're gonna cut a deal, right? Jim, I'm gonna give you billions of dollars. We're gonna cut a deal. Now he starts saying, did you ever come to my country? He knew he didn't go to his country. That's a little bit. It's funny. This is the second time I've seen this. I didn't notice that the first time. He was trying to shame J.D. Vance in front of the reporters. I never got that. I did not get that the first time. Did you, Fish? I just caught that.
No.
It's like if I go to your house for dinner and I start like ragging on you in front of your, future wife, you'd be a little, and then your dad's there, so let's pretend.
Yeah, with
Trump's-
all these cameras on.
Yeah, that's a little unfair. He knew. I mean, J.D. Vance was the junior senator from Ohio. He's how old? 40? 43? You know, he's relatively new to politics, and he was not a foreign policy type senator. He was picked for more of domestic policy.
He's 40.
So he's doing great for 40, but, you know, a smarter move would be, hey, but they're heated now. They're starting to get annoyed, right? They're out of their Zen mode, mineral rights deal mode. The point Tom brings up, good, interesting point. Remember, Zelensky is speaking in English, which is not his native tongue, and may not have been translated what he meant. The part is fighting on their own, meaning Ukrainian blood. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. It's a valid point. Go ahead.
Is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you,
So
but you
pause.
have nice ocean. And
You know, that colored the aspect where Zelensky kind of shamed J.D. Vance. I didn't get that until now. That does color this a little differently. Where I
His
was,
hands. Look at his body language.
we're at force. Who the Ukrainian?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I own you now, buddy. I'm going to show you. You got to realize he was an actor too. So Trump has a knack for the theatrics. Zelensky does. I think J.D. Vance is like if I got in there, you know, I'm kind of, you know what I mean. I don't know if he's an act for the theatrics. Go ahead, Mr. Zelensky.
don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You will
Don't-
not
you
have
gotta-
war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Stop.
We're trying
That's
to
the
solve a
first.
problem.
This is the first time. Stop. So to be fair, how many minutes are we into it before Trump kind of gets a little
4
rough?
minutes.
How many?
4.
So it's 4 minutes. Now realize they had a peaceful press conference for a while. 4 minutes. Trump, to his credit, was pretty quiet while Vance. Then he says, "You will feel it." Like, his point is, you need a strong Ukraine to have a strong world, and you need us as a buffer against Russia. But it didn't sit well with the president. I don't know if
I think he was thinking like, well, if you ever got attacked, you'd feel the same way we did, something
Yep.
like that.
No, I think he's saying, no, he's trying to make the point, if you don't deal with Russia via Ukraine, you will deal with Russia through Greenland, through the Arctic, through, whatever. I mean, I think, what's his point? What do you guys think his point is? Jim's or mine? Whom right? I don't know. Jim makes a good point.
I think Jim makes a good point.
But do you think my point is valid? So, my point is that if Ukraine doesn't act as a buffer against Russia, you give Ukraine to Russia, then you give Poland to Russia, you give you know what I mean? And what about Arctic sea rights, space race, all those things? There's a big problem if we allow the Russian giant to just gobble up countries. I mean, that's a big problem. And by the way, Poland and Ukraine are some of our most loyal citizens, like Polish immigrants, Ukrainian immigrants. They are patriotic, and not only that, they're usually a liberty-minded country. Go ahead.
To solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have the
saying
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing
But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what you're
You're
speaking about?
gambling with
What you're
World
speaking
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with all
back to you.
respect to your
Far
answer.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
you're
of
speaking
America
about.
and the president who's trying to
Pause.
save your
I don't
country.
remember. Did he campaign? Did anyone fact check Vance on this? Did Zelensky go with Kamala on a campaign stop? Maybe. I mean, it could be right.
I mean,
But
I remember Zelensky was like at the Oscars a couple years ago, which left leaning, you know.
But no, I don't know. Maybe he didn't go. Maybe he did. We'll have to fact check that. The interesting thing, though, it's starting to go way south right now. So this is get your popcorn. Let's go. Pause. Play.
Country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid president, $350 billion.
Pause right
You
there.
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted-
met,
you
and you
voted
met.
They both have good points. Trump, I gave 350 billion, or the country gave, by extension, the U.S. gave 350 billion to you. Zelensky just said, "I'm very thankful." So this whole, people being butthurt that he didn't say thank you in time. I don't,
He just said thank you when he was asked to say thank you.
yeah, I mean, if I knew somebody was offended by me, and they thought I was ingrateful, I would say, "Oh, thank you. Sorry." He's saying that. But the one knock I have on Trump and Vance on this, and I'm trying to play in the middle, just kind of call it like I see it. I don't get why I do not equate Ukraine and Russia as equals, like they both. It's like you're dealing with a battered woman who's been abused by her, ex-husband. You're not going to equate the ex-husband who's a serial abuser with the victim. Does that make sense? That's the only problem I have with the president on this. The equation of victim with aggressor. I think Trump makes good points on, we got to stop spending money on this. Like, we're going broke as a country. Let's cut the deal and be done. But I think that's where I'm kind of middle of the road guy. We start to see, well, you know what? What if your country was invaded? I sort of get that. Now, we're going to talk about the economic fallout of this after. It's huge. Go ahead.
And your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times,
that there,
thank you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And
President.
then you tell us I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what
That wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
what if
Pause.
Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks
I
peace talks?
I don't think that's a negative point. I mean, people have to be in a position of peace, right? It takes two to tango. I don't think that's a bad part. And I don't think he's yelling. I don't think Trump's some of this, like he's yelling at Zelensky.
Well, Zelensky keeps talking over him.
I think they're heated. Zelensky's talking over him. I don't. I think if there was one inappropriate character, it might have been J.D. Vance. Could have. But I don't think he was even wrong. I think J.D. Vance's point was, why are we doing this in front of the media? We're cutting some deal on mineral rights. And I don't know if you caught this. Zelensky was trying to imply that Trump was Putin's puppet. He is a smart man. And this is where Trump kind of goes off on this tangent. People say, why did Trump? Putin, he goes, because Trump said 3 days or 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And Zelensky put in, that's what Putin said. And there was a little programming. Did anybody else catch that? Like trying to imply that Trump is Putin's puppet. Did you get that?
No.
Yes.
You did?
So
Yes.
if somebody's in my house, so in a way, Trump's actually being pretty calm, because there's a certain implication here in the scripting. You got to realize Zelensky uses media just like Trump does. I think J.D. Vance is the only one who didn't really, take as much media training. So this is interesting.
I don't think there's any media training in the world that can prep you for this, though.
This is funny. This is like, but could this all be but here's the thing, market's rallying. My market take is the reason the market's rallying is it's smelling a peace deal. And could this be that the two actors, Zelensky and Trump, cut a deal to do this in the public eye first, so that Putin would accept a deal because he thinks Trump's negotiating in his favor? What about that? Maybe Putin gets outsmarted. We have a deal on Monday. That's why the market's rallying. What say you? Anybody think it's a good idea? The market never lies. The market is rallying. The Bitcoin market is rallying. I think it's telling us something. The market is a leading indicator. I mean, rallying today, Friday. Yesterday it was imploding.
It's still down today.
No, it's up today. What are you talking about?
I guess it returns to 84.
No. The market closed today, S&P 500.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
1.59%. The Dow closed 1.39%. It was in the red in the middle of the day. Now it's in the green. Then Bitcoin, it's up negative 0.11 for the day. But people forget Bitcoin is a 24-hour market. So it's giving you the access to the pulse of where people believe the economy to be. If Bitcoin is falling, it believes uncertainty is rising, economy might slow down. Also, interesting part about the stock market, just like you're going to hear about Russia in a little bit, you are hearing from the powers that be, inflation is sticky. Have you heard about this? Inflation sticky, slow growth. We're going to go to a Steve Cohen, who's the owner of the Mets. I want you to get that clip up next. And you're hearing the same groupthink about the Russian scandal. You're now hearing it that we're going to go into an economic slowdown that may never occur. So let's go back to Trump v. Zelensky. Wow, this is good TV.
Peace talks. What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that. All right. We'll see what we can do about putting...
The ratings bonanza. What happened after this?
We're supposed to go to a luncheon, and it was canceled.
Are they done? They're done.
That's it.
Then J.D. Vance kind of backslaps the president, you know. I don't know if his involvement helped or hurt the whole peace deal. So,
What's this Cohen video you want up?
what'd you say?
What's the Cohen video?
Stevie Cohen on the market on sticky inflation, because I'm hearing the same groupthink in markets. Oh, we're headed for a downturn. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on. So Newsweek, I don't know if Newsweek is an independent source.
I don't think so.
Newsweek says you went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition. His criticism stems from a 2024 visit to a munitions plant in Scranton, Pennsylvania, a battleground state. So, the committee is investigating any coordination among the Biden-Harris and the Zelensky for use of solicitation of government property to potentially benefit Vice President Harris's presidential campaign. Okay, I get what happened. So there was an event, and although the visit was not billed as a campaign event, Republicans alleged it amounted to a campaign stop, arguing that it is inappropriate for a foreign leader to attend a political event just weeks before a critical election in a battleground state. It spurred investigations from House Republicans about whether Zelensky's appearance was an improper use of tax dollars. So that makes sense. I get that. I get why they might be annoyed by that. Could have been something that just looked innocent. So he didn't intentionally do a campaign visit, but it was very closely choreographed. It's like when you get letters from, you ever get letters from your congressman around election time, and it's like, oh, you know, it's really a campaign letter, but they're like using the office to send a recap of all the great things they did for the district. It was sort of along that line. So you could definitely have said it was inappropriate. Zelensky has responded. After the heated exchange, Ukrainian President Zelensky reacted with a measured tone, thanking the U.S. for their support. That's just his Twitter. Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the visit. Thank you for POTUS. So do we hear anything else? We're going to hear about the 5 o'clock Fox thing. Is that on, or is that a gimmick?
I mean, it's starting, but we can't stream it live, but we can get it afterwards. I have
Well,
the Cohen video, though.
We can do it after, but here's the point. Markets are looking buoyant now after this. Now, another thing, markets had a heated fear gauge. And markets have not seen fear like this week in quite some time, and why that could be a bullish thing. Do you have Stevie Cohen on why he's negative on the market? His dour mood? You have that?
Yep.
Okay, let's play that.
This is one of those moments where there's really a lot of uncertainty, and I have pretty strong views here. When you take a brew of tariffs, I mean, tariffs cannot be positive, okay? I mean, it's a tax. And you can imagine tit for tat if the U.S. does something, implements a tax on somebody, somebody else is going to, you know, perhaps raise the stakes and,
Let's stop right there.
Raise their tax back. So taxes.
I've thought about this, especially since we've had a lot of anti-tariff people on. If tariffs are a tax, why couldn't we have zero income tax and go back to 25% tariffs? Would that not be a better tax? Because anybody purchasing a good, say you are an undocumented worker who makes $50,000 a year cleaning houses, that would get passed off to the TV that you buy. So I'm a free trader, been sort of raised that way to hate tariffs my whole life. But it could be that tariffs could work. But I'm generally against them, but it is not. You're hearing this groupthink in Bloomberg and the news saying you're going to have this stew. Trump's uncertainty, inflation. It's almost like Russia, 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 but in a different tone. It's inflation. I said this, didn't I, Jim, a year ago, that Trump would win? I've been saying this, and all of a sudden, people say, oh, the market's not that good. Oh, the economy's not that good. I've been saying, I said that all last year. Do you guys remember me saying this?
Mm-hmm.
And now what do we hear? We hear Stephen Cohen, one of the masters of the economic universe, billionaire. He's saying the same thing you hear virtually every night if you turn on CNBC. Or what do you think, Fish?
I mean, doesn't it just hurt the lower classes?
Who? What?
I mean, it's interesting that he's, anti-tariff, but like, if we put a tariff on goods, it just raises the price of everything. So people who are already hurting, how do they afford stuff?
Well,
The
what they
income
would be
tax
doing
thing
is
wouldn't.
lowering the income tax.
Yeah, but that's
zero.
like not. But still, the price of everything going up, like they're not going to see that return, and they're just going to have to pay more.
Well, that's the typical. That's the typical line. But if you think about income taxes, they can be easily sheltered. So this guy, is he paying income taxes like you and I? Maybe not. Maybe he's loaning against his portfolio. If you're Elon Musk, right, or Jeff Bezos, you can loan against your portfolio and pay zero tax. Now you got to pay interest on that.
What did the income tax bring in, like last year, for example, versus like what tariffs would bring in if you eliminated the income tax?
I don't know if we have that data.
Is that like Equitable? I don't know.
I don't know. We'd have to. I'd have
wanna
to
look
see
that
a
up.
congressional budget analysis. That's your job. You're the producer. Research that. Let's go.
Financial guy. I want to know.
Well, no.
I'll go
the,
find
the
something.
truth is, with anything pro-tariff, the economic brainwashing that we all got were that tariffs were bad and that free trade was good. So to be fair, we've not had like tests where, hey, let's test the tariff policy. But my point is, I kind of agree with him on tariffs. I'm anti-tariff, but my point is, Trump's election had this euphoric rise in the stock market. Now it is being followed by this dour mood, right? Everybody's like, right, Jim? Am I wrong? Inflation, tariffs, Russia, Ukraine. Like there's this stew of negativity now that is sort of like a wet blanket on economic growth. All we need is for a Russia-Ukraine deal to happen, and the market's going to boom again. Now, this is from Tom, our resident historian. The richest period in the U.S. was the period between 1860 to 1910. That I've heard this.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I agree with it, but
also, yeah, that might be true, but like, you
Gilded
got to factor
Age.
in
The
culture and the amount of people in the U.S. Like, you can look at that stuff as like where we were, but like you can't. It's not 1-to-1.
Well, the one benefit of tariffs is you're passing it on to the consumer, so it's not a tax that can be.
Yeah,
It can't be.
the consumers get hit off at the top.
Yeah, but then it would be good. Then we would want more illegal immigrants in this country and have legal immigration because then they would be taxed more for buying their goods. If you are my landscaper and I'm paying you money and they're not claiming taxes, that tax revenue doesn't go into the economy. So this allows every citizen, whether they're taxpaying or not, to contribute to the economy.
But what if people don't buy?
Everybody buys things. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, but that's like predicated under the idea that people will buy. And
They
like,
do.
If
I was
things
in
are so
Cuba.
expensive.
I was in Cuba on a missions trip. Everybody, they had wire hanger things. They had cardboard box floors and roofs patched together in some of the poorest areas in Cuba. And you know what they all had?
Cell phone.
They all had a big TV
And
and a cell phone.
Yeah, but TVs have become cheaper. I mean,
Yeah, but if it's 25% higher, that'll be, the government will get the tax revenue that way. It's the whole idea of a sales tax, right? Versus, now you're not wrong. A sales tax or a tariff is by nature a regressive tax, but instead of a progressive tax. But that's why I like a flat income tax and just do whatever.
here I got some from the Congressional Budget Office of the IRS. The U.S. federal government collected about $2.2 trillion in individual income tax revenue, and according to the U.S. Treasury monthly statement on the website, tariff revenue brought in $80 billion.
Yeah, but we don't have many
2023.
tariffs, though. That's
Yeah,
the point.
that's true. Yeah.
The point, but that's my argument of like, we don't really have data on could you get the same revenue. But if you had zero income tax, if we had no income tax, I'd be all over a tariff. If it was a 0% income tax and a 25% tariff or 20% tariff, I'd be all over that exchange. But a lot of people are against it. I get it. The other thing is jobs come back in the U.S. because then it puts U.S. made products at parity with Chinese made products.
What jobs come back though? Because we would be making more stuff in the U.S.
Yes. Just
Is
think
that
about
even-
car plants.
Yeah, but
Tesla, and this is where Elon is a national treasure. Elon Musk brought U.S. manufacturing of cars back in a level, not seen since, Ford. So American ingenuity, American job creation. So there's why? Because he has robots building the car. So it's a different type of.
Is it like a one-to-one, like to bring jobs back, like because we've been so reliant on like outside imports, how do we just restart that and start moving everything back here? It seems like that's like we've moved away
We're
from
doing
it for
it.
so long.
By the way, BMW is a plant in Greenville, Spartanburg.
Yeah.
There's other country. Toyota has a plant in Alabama. Why does it say on the
I don't
screen
know.
the
It's-
financial quarterback? Can you guys fix that? We're not on a break, everybody. We got people watching live on Twitter. Make sure to retweet the video. We're now talking about Stephen Cohen's comments on the economy, and when you listen to him, think, haven't I heard that before? Haven't you heard what he said before, Fish? That's Go ahead.
Finish it. Yeah.
And raise their tax back. So taxes are never positive. On top of that, we have slowing immigration, which means the labor force will not grow as rapidly as previous over the last, say, 5 years. And in addition, now you have Doge, right? And wherever you lay on the Doge issue, I mean, that's austerity. And austerity, when that money's been coursing through the economy over many years, and now potentially will be reduced or stopped in many ways, has got to be negative for the economy. So you have tariffs, I could see a situation where we think growth is going to slow to 1.5% from 2.5% in the second half, and yet the unemployment rate is actually going to go down, which because of slowing labor force. And so, there may be offsets in Doge, and that needs to be considered. But the reality is you've got a brew of sticky inflation, slowing growth, and austerity in the government. And so I'm actually pretty negative for the first time in a while. I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but I do think, given where investors lay, how committed they are to the markets today, that I think we're seeing a regime shift a little bit. And it may only last a year or so, but it's definitely a period where I think the best gains have been had, and wouldn't surprise me to see a significant correction.
Write a comment in the chat. Do you believe we'll have sticky inflation, slowing growth? What else did he say? A dour labor picture. What else did he say? Anything else?
Lower job. Well, didn't he say that jobs would go up?
Well, he said unemployment's going to go down. See, this is the thing.
Yeah, unemployment's going to go down.
I wonder what his political affiliation is. But you have that picture, or you then have the picture of we will have a new age, a crypto renaissance, the first crypto president, Doge will balance budgets. You have the new golden age of America. So who's going to be right, golden age of America or dour economic outlook? We will see, right?
Steve Cohen is not a Trump fan.
I know. So there you go. You heard that. And his messaging, by the way, if I was a Democrat, I would have his messaging because it made sense. It was clear. It was cogent. But that being said, I want to see good things in the economy happening, but I'm a realist, and I want our listeners protected from a problem. So I agree with him that those are the negatives that will happen. But he said unemployment's going to stay low. So that's good for the stock market. And I don't think, I don't see, Trump, I don't see Trump rounding up my landscapers, and like, I don't see him rounding up the people who work in the trenches. I know you hear stories of things, but I don't see it that much. Do you? Are they really deporting people in California?
I don't think they're. In West Hollywood, which is like notoriously, it's a very diverse area. A lot of gay people. New signs have popped up, like saying report any illegals to ICE. and there was a huge
What does the
like, a
gay
sign went
people
up.
have to do with immigration?
You know, they're going into a place that is diverse, and they're like, hey, tell on your neighbor, basically. You know, a progressive place that's popping up. But no, I don't agree with that either. And also,
No, but
like,
couldn't they just be more progressive so they're putting up a sign? Like
well, it's probably a couple people doing it and stirring, you know, feathers.
stirring the pot,
Ruff-
like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly,
Trump's
ruffling
getting rid of
feathers.
my people. You know, I sort of think they're getting rid of people like maybe gang activity, maybe something to have a press release, but I don't see them rounding up.
No,
law-abiding
they're just being loud about it. I
citizens.
mean, every administration did it. Like Obama didn't he have like some of the highest numbers of, you know, deportations under his
Yeah, Obama
regime?
deported a lot too, yeah. So who's going to be right? Golden Age of America or dour economic outlook? Any thoughts? What do you think as a man on the street?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell you. That's a
Day
wise
by
answer.
day.
It is going to be day by day. I think the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. But if you repeat a line enough, this dour economic picture, people are going to start to believe it. But I could see zoom markets with a piece. I could also see, by the way, the daily and the weekly charts turn negative for the first time in a while. I'll show some charts. I'm going to get our investment committee's outlook. Can you send me the Trading View weekly and daily outlook? That turned negative yesterday, actually. Our indicators. For the first time, the daily was negative for a while, but the daily and the weekly turned negative yesterday. That could be a sign of two things. Yesterday could have been the bottom, or it could be a sign of much more pain to come. I got an email from one of these economic news things. Also, the president, there's a crypto-friendlier SEC. They're saying meme coins aren't securities. So-called meme coins are not securities. They fail the SEC's Howey test, the agency said. So Dogecoin, Pepe, Trump. This is from Emile Halays of investmentnews.com. A category of crypto that the SEC Thursday are akin to collectibles are not covered by federal securities oversight. It was this latest example of a Securities and Exchange Commission under Republican leadership warmly taking to crypto. So we can have a Josh coin, and it's not deemed a security. Meme coins are typically purchased for entertainment, social interaction, and cultural purposes. And their value is driven primarily by market demand and speculation. In this regard, meme coins are akin to collectibles, such as Beanie Babies. The SEC's Division of Corporate Finance wrote, noting that such coins also have limiting to zero functionality. Given the speculative nature of meme coins, they tend to experience significant market price volatility and often accompanied by statements regarding the risks and lack of utility other than for entertainment or other non-functional purposes. So Trump, Doge, Pepe are all wastes of money. But aren't they like a Ponzi scheme? You know, like
Some of them,
like a pump and dump thing?
like that Haktua coin.
Oh, I don't know about that one.
You don't know about the Haktua coin? The Haktua girl?
Yeah, no, what happened?
There's this girl who went viral for some internet clip where she was like man on the street interview, and she started a podcast. She kept the following going. She got like agency representation. She had a big podcast, and she launched a coin called the Haktua coin, and a bunch of people bought in, and immediate rug pull. And she's under some heavy scrutiny, and she's just disappeared from the internet.
But does she then, now with this ruling, is she safe?
That's a good question.
Because you can
Talk
just
to a
scam
safe.
people?
I don't know.
So
$440 million meme coin collapse.
should the Hawk Tuah girl be responsible for that? Because according to this, it's not a security. See, buyer beware with any of these meme coins. Like, your money could go to zero. Notably, the president and First Lady Melania also launched their own meme coin shortly before the new president took office. Though crypto assets are volatile, these coins lost most of their value in a very short time frame. Under new leadership, the SEC has already been showing how much friendlier it is to the crypto world than it was under former chair Gary Gensler. The agency now has a crypto task force headed by Commissioner Hester Pierce that promises to develop a comprehensive and regulatory framework for crypto assets. Also on Thursday, the SEC dismissed a case against Coinbase, which it had accused of violating federal securities law in trading crypto assets. So this is interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking into this Hawk Tuah. She launched with no disclosures.
Is she going to jail?
She launched with no disclosure. She promised people it would go to the moon and used her face and name without permission. And yeah, no compliances, no registration, no actual product. Didn't follow any of the rules.
Well, that I
Textbook
guess
pump
would
and
just
dump.
be fraud, though.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily, I guess, a meme coin. Commissioner Caroline Crenshaw, the lone Democrat remaining on the commission, objected to both the SEC statement on meme coins and dismissal of the enforcement of action. A sticking point is that meme coins don't have a clear definition, Crenshaw said in comments Thursday. The SEC statement generally describes meme coin as an asset reflective of online or social trends or speculative value. And she said on the Coinbase issue, the SEC was getting ahead of itself. So whatever the law may be tomorrow, market participants should not be able to avoid the law as it stands today. What we say, we are dismissing the action because of future recommendations that may be made by the Crypto Task Force dedicated to helping the Commission develop the regulatory framework for crypto assets. Well, I think it's very simple. And this is where Doge has a point. Do we need an SEC task force for fraud? Isn't just fraud? Like if somebody's doing a pump and dump scheme, isn't that just fraud? Like I don't really think we need a special task force to tell us it's fraud, but maybe we do. The FBI is accusing North Korea of a $1.5 billion crypto theft. And Steve Cohen, apparently, if you do this search, is Steve Cohen a Democrat? You get a big yes. So, golden age or dour economic mood? Let's go to positive. We all want to be positive, right? Power of positive thinking.
Oh, boy.
I walked on the coals once. Anybody walk on the coals in Tony Robbins' event?
No, you did.
I did. I was pumped.
Mm.
But, it's kind of a, it's interesting. So where's fuel to the bull market's fire? This is from a guy named Michael Salvatore, Tradesmith Daily, or Salvatore. The American Institute of Individual Investors, AAI Sentiment, surveys usually a solid read of where investors' heads are at. Have you seen this, Josh?
No.
Not that you want to follow where investors' heads are at. Most times you want to run in the opposite direction, but we'll get to that. There's no better way to describe this week's reading other than absurd. But let me paint you the backdrop before we put the subject into focus. The S&P and the NASDAQ posted new highs just last week. And they did this 1 month into a second presidential administration that was previously very good for capital markets, is currently focused on deregulation, government efficiency, and tax cuts, and just passed its first major budget bill. Isn't that a different, that's sort of saying the same thing as Steve Cohen, but through a different lens?
Mm-hmm.
So deregulation, efficiency, and tax cuts, or lower, what did he say? Sticky inflation, not enough immigrants for the workforce, and something else. austerity. With the 10-year Treasury yield down 11% from the local high, I also don't think Trump is an austere guy. I think fundamentally he's going to take the Doge savings and throw it to some road or bridges. Or did you hear about his 2026, new bicentennial thing? Like he wants to have this whole American year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And a new museum or monument park, showcasing American history. That's going to cost a lot of money.
Is that going to be in Philadelphia?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So with the 10-year Treasury down 11% from the local high on January 15th, 75% of reporting companies in the S&P 500 get this, they're beating estimates. So that's a positive. And a week before data showed the U.S. economy grew by 2.3% just last quarter, contrary to Stephen Cohen, who said 2.5% per year, which he was saying was going to slow to 1.5% per year. You don't even have to talk about the productivity. Part of me thinks the show Billions, is that inspired by Steve Cohen? I think it is. I don't think they say that, but
yeah. Businessman who loosely inspired character Bobby Axelrod on the Showtime series Billions.
Bobby Axelrod looks cooler than Steve Cohen.
And he inspired Damian Lewis's character. Yeah, that's Damian Lewis's character, right? Yeah.
Did you finish? I watched it for a couple seasons, then it got a little strange, so I stopped.
Never watched it,
Got boring.
honestly.
The first season, by the way, is awesome. You should watch it.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to talk about the productivity boost coming from a lot of good things happening. We got NVIDIA and Snowflake showing that the AI trade is still in full swing. When you look at all this on its own, you'd expect investors should feel bullish, right? Wrong. The AAII survey asks, what direction do you feel the stock market will be headed in the next 6 months? Jim, which direction? Just say anything.
Bullish.
Well, no, that's because I just gave you bullish things. You would have been negative. What about you, Fish? In the next 6 months. What?
Bullish.
Okay, everybody's bullish now, I think, because they hear me being bullish. So I'm not. Almost 61% of those surveys were bearish. They thought stocks would be lower in the next 6 months, and just 19.4% think stocks will be higher. The survey result was so bearish, it was one of the 10 most bearish points of all time. No, seriously. These were the other parts. I want you to know, March 5th, 2009 was the most bearish period on record. That would have been a great time to buy, by the way. That was the low of the 08 crash, almost the absolute low. So what you see is, even though these people are investors, they're often wrong. So you should do the opposite of what the AI sentiment says. Although I had a friend who told me sentiment trading really doesn't work. He had a reason for it. He studied sentiment and said it's really hard to trade, to do so. The idea is every time anybody's really negative, you buy, and every time they're really positive, you sell. But what happens is in bull markets, people keep getting positive, and in bear markets, they keep getting negative, so it doesn't always work on the trade. The next two worst times were 1990, September of 2022. We were here together, guys. Maybe you were here. It's before, but Jim and I were here. That was a negative, so there were 60% of people were bearish. October of 08, 60% of the people were bearish. September 29th, 2022, 60% of the people were bearish. Guess what? February 27th, 60.62% of the people were bearish. So it was one of the 10 most bearish periods in history. So that's either going to be, and this is why it's tough to trade sentiment, because if you noticed, October 08 was very bearish, but that was not the time to buy. The time to buy was more like the March 09 low. That's why it's tough to trade sentiment, and we're not advising you to do that. So let's check the bears' track record. Let's take a look back at the S&P 500 index for all the dates above. Starting in 1990, if we look at bearish sentiment set at 61% August 31st, 1990. 6 months later, stocks were up 13.7%. Then it hit 67%, the second highest bearish reading ever. The same year, October 19th, 6 months later, guess what? Stocks up 25.6%. So in many ways, sometimes these signals signal that bears have a bad track record. It's better to be optimistic. Not the best track record, but let's get back to 2008. Surely they must have been on the money there. The next two bear readings, March 13th and October 9th, were pretty accurate. The first was a few days before Bear Stearns blew up. So it only looks like two were accurate on October 9th, though that didn't directly cause the market to crash, and instead it saw a short-term rally. 6 months later, stocks were down 7.1%. And the second was a month after the Lehman Brothers collapse, which preceded a 6-month slide of 12.16% for the S&P. But look at that third signal. The market on March 5th, 2009 hit an all-time low on sentiment with a high of 70.2. That was the day before the market had the low of 666. Not only the number of Satan, but also the number of the S&P 500 in March of 2009. What followed was one of the biggest bull markets of all time. Finally, let's look at 2022. Investors got it right to be bearish in late April. As inflation became the biggest focal point in the market, stocks dropped negative 10.3% and 6 months later. However, in June, another signal saw stocks unchanged 6 months later. And in September, two nearby signals flashed just weeks before the bear market bottom, with stocks recovering 6.8 and 9.3 respectively. So what does this tell us? 5 out of the last 9 times that investors responded to AAII surveys with extreme bearishness on the 6-month direction of stocks, stocks were higher 6 months later. One of those times, stocks were flat. So 6 of 9, it was bullish or flat. Only a third of those times was it a signal of hellish times to come. And the 3 times they were right, it's not too hard to see why. Stocks were already well off their highs, and major market mishaps like the great financial crisis and inflation were controlling the narrative. But we don't have that right now. We're in a bull market. And some would say it's a young bull market because it's only 2 years into the bear that occurred in 2022. And really, the new bull market probably started October of 2023, which don't tend to end after such short runs. And as far as we can see, the only wild card is Donald Trump's tariffs. This could be significant, but every other part of the economy and markets seem to be firing on all cylinders. And the granddaddy factor of them all, AI. So markets could be reeling with Trump, AI. If you have a question or comment, type it in the chat. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks for watching on X. Be sure to retweet this space. And we're going to talk more things market. What do you want to talk about next, Fisher?
Let's stop this. Let's do some podcasts.
Okay. Do we want to simulcast the podcast on video?
No.
No. So for that, folks, for all of you watching, make sure you subscribe to the Financial Quarterback Podcast on, where are we? iHeart? No. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you download and hit the button subscribe, which is sometimes not a button. Isn't it like a bell or a check mark on the upper right-hand side?
Could be.
What is it now?
I mean, it's a button.
Or you press, it's like a plus sign
It
for you to
says
follow.
subscribe on it.
I don't remember it saying subscribe. I thought it was a plus sign.